What's Working? I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. And on our Wednesday evening shows at 6 p.m. right now, we get people on the phone that are going to tell us a little bit about their own business, what it is that they do, how that business has changed, what external factors are influencing the reactions that they've got to make to different business climates. And as I record this, the COVID economy continues to rage just outside of this window. In fact, as I record this, I'm recording from my quote-unquote home studio. And if you were to see this, you would chuckle at what I'm calling my home studio. On the other side of the door of my home studio is the son on Xbox, and I've asked him to please keep it down. No screaming at the TV while we're recording. And perhaps in a moment or two, you'll hear the repetitive bouncing of my daughter on the trampoline in the backyard. I've asked her to keep it down. But that's the COVID reality. That's what so many of us are going through right now. The COVID reality has also stymied the consumption of fuel. The airplanes aren't flying. In fact, a plane flew over my house the other day on its way to Brooklyn, and I looked up and said, at least somebody's working. It's one of those big UPS planes that's going in to have their avionics repaired or changed or updated, whatever it may be. At least somebody's working. There are fewer cars on the road. There are fewer planes in the air. And it's not just Mobile, Alabama. Of course, it's all over the nation and the world that this consumption of fuel has dropped dramatically. So much so that one of the headlines that I saw today is that oil is dipping into negative prices. Not exactly sure how that happens. And I have yet to roll up to a gas station and have them pay me to take fuel off their hands. It's not trickling down to me in that regard. But the story said these oil-producing companies are trying to find place to hold their fuel for months until the equilibrium is set again, where they can sell their fuel at a fair price. There's this organization or this place in the center of the nation in Oklahoma, I think, where these huge the U.S. fuel reservoirs are based, and they're full. And these oil companies are finding oil ships to put their fuel on, sending them out to sea and say, stay there until the market gets a little bit better. You're full to the top. Now just stay out to sea until we can find a good place to sell your oil for the right price. So today we're going to look a little bit at this. And I've got upcoming Josh Davison. His family is Davison Fuels. Now Josh is going to tell us that he's a downstream provider. And I know enough to know that that means his responsibility is getting the fuel to the end user. It's his company that maybe has a hand in getting it to my car. Upstream providers are the people that pull it out of the ground. So he's a downstream provider, but he's going to give us a sense of what this fuel market means, where it comes from, what happens to this fuel if it doesn't get immediately used, can it go bad? And give us a sense of the fuel world in a strange and unreal time of COVID. When we come back from break, Josh Davison Fuels. What's going on with the oil world these days? How does it impact you and me? I think this is going to be interesting. You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Regions. We'll be back after this break.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
The best, most cost-efficient ways to talk to customers about who you are and what you do is through signs, simple, effective signs. Hi, I'm Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Signorama is the Mobile area's leader in helping you design and build signs advertising your business. What kinds? All kinds of signs, all kinds. Find Signorama on Facebook or at signorama-mobile.com.
Even if we don't meet in person, Regions is still here for you. We make it easier for you to stay informed and in control with online and mobile banking. You can check balances, transfer money, pay bills, deposit checks with Regions Mobile Deposit, and even set up helpful alerts no matter where you are. We're here to make it easier to bank your way. Learn more at regions.com/tools. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. On the line, Josh Davison. Josh is the lubricant sales manager for Davison Fuels and Oil, corporate headquarters in Mobile. They serve a big part of the Gulf Coast region, though. His family's been in the petroleum marketing business on the Gulf Coast since 1950. And Josh originally got his start in 2006 after graduating from Auburn University. He enjoys spending time with his wife, Jennifer, and their 3 girls. Josh, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Cam. I appreciate being here.
So you are obviously in the oil, the lubricant sales world, and you told me prior to our call that you are on the downstream side. So let's kind of do a level set and make sure our listeners understand the differences in upstream, midstream, and downstream.
Okay. Well, upstream would be, simply put, just the extraction of crude oil from the earth, obviously, and so anything to do with that, whether it be exploration for crude oil or the actual drilling of it, that would be considered the upstream of our industry. And then the midstream is really the transportation of that crude oil to facilities to be refined into whatever products. And it would surprise most people how many products crude oil is actually used for. A lot of plastics, a lot of cosmetics, paints, things like that, as well as obviously diesel fuel, gasoline, lubricants. And that would be your midstream sector. So all your pipelines and things of that nature would fall under your midstream. And then your downstream would be once it is at a refinery, then they're going to take the possession of the crude, and then they're going to make it into whatever product. And then the distribution network to get to the end user would be downstream. And Davison Fuels and Oil would be almost completely to the end of that process, to where we're taking finished product, whether it be diesel or lubricants or gasoline, and distributing it to the end user. So we are what we're called is a jobber in our market, and we distribute to the end user essentially.
Any guess, Josh, on how many times this fuel has been marked up by the time it gets to you?
There's a lot of hands that touch it. It would blow the average person's mind how many jobs are connected to that gallon of, say, gasoline that you buy on a Friday afternoon to go to the beach. It is really an industry that is in depth, and I would say just a ballpark, probably 10 to 15 times it's actually been touched and processed and transported and refined in that system from crude oil in the ground all the way to a finished product.
So right now, as we're on the phone, gas is cheap. It's relatively cheap. In fact, it was negative the other day, or oil was negative the other day, yet the gas station is still not paying me to take fuel. I'm having to pay them. But you're saying that, let's just pick a round number, $2 gallon of gas. That $2 gallon has been marked up 10 to 15 times by the time it goes into my car and gets consumed.
It is in very small increments.
Yes.
And very, there's a lot of hands that touch it. And, the industry it takes a lot to get it from point A to point B. And, everybody's making small percentages. But, yes, it's being touched quite a bit by a lot of different industries and a lot of different entities in that line.
So you're the downstream side. You're the very end of the downstream side, and your title is lubricant sales manager. Give me a sense of what a lubricant sales manager would sell.
Would sell, you said?
Yes. What are your products?
We are primarily, your diesel engine oils, your passenger car motor oils, which we call PCMOs for short. Hydraulic fluids, things of that nature, diesel exhaust fluid, mineral spirits, kerosene, things like that. We have some ancillary products as well, brake cleaners and things of that nature, but primarily it's motor oil and hydraulic fluid that we would sell to the end user. And
your range, it says marketing on the Gulf Coast. Give me a sense of what big area you are, the size of your area.
Yes, lubricants, we go essentially southeast. My furthest customer up the East Coast is, Virginia, Carolinas, and then we go into Texas. I've got a few customers in the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, but primarily we're Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi and Louisiana. And then fuel is a little simpler. With freight, fuel sticks you to about 100 miles or so from the terminal. And so we market, roughly 100 or 120 miles away from each terminal that we pull from.
So when you say terminal, it means and I'm just oversimplifying it, I'm sure, you back one of your trucks up to a refinery and you open the valve and you fill up your truck with whatever it may be, and then you're off. Is that the way you get the fuel that?
Exactly. A terminal is a fancy name for it's not very fancy, but it's a name for, you have refineries that will actually refine the product, and then they will actually transport it to local terminals as well. Every town doesn't have a refinery necessarily, but they will probably have a terminal, a decent-sized town will.
So what has, as we record this, the COVID economy is the dominant portion of everybody's conversation, particularly in the business world. What has the COVID economy done to Davison Fuels and Oil?
Well, it's definitely affected us. There is no doubt. We have seen obviously gasoline and even lubricant sales, decrease. It's hard to put a number on it because some of our sectors have increased because of this. Different sector sales to hospitals, for instance, may increase where sales to gasoline stations will decrease because there's less people on the road. All in all, there's still a lot going on. People are working, definitely, but it has definitely affected us. We have seen some definite effects from this, and it's a new world that we're trying to figure out what it looks like from here.
How many employees do you guys have?
We currently run, if I'm not mistaken, around 110.
110, and how many of those are on the road delivering product?
Probably 40 to 45 drivers at any given time between our locations.
Are they, so they're still busy. They may not be going to what I would call a gas station as much anymore, but they're still bringing stuff elsewhere due to increased demand from other ancillary type of businesses?
Yes, a lot of generators, a lot of, you could understand, hospitals, things of that nature want to make sure they have emergency generators that they want to make sure are fueled and, lubricated properly, and they want to be on just in case power outages or things of that nature at all times, but especially right now.
Yeah.
And so we have seen an uptick in things like that to not necessarily offset, but it's been busier in that sector versus, your average gas station's probably using, roughly 2/3 of what he usually does.
Yeah, 2/3, huh? I haven't filled my car up in a while. Last time I did, gas was cheaper. It's gotten cheaper since, but I thought it was a glorious day. Yet I've got a buddy that's in the fuel business that he says, Cam, the fuel needs to remain about, I want to say, and this was years ago, he said about $50 a barrel in order for the consumer to be happy with the price and the oil business to be happy with the price. Now it's cheap. In fact, it was negative the other day. What does this mean to you? What does this mean to Davison Fuels, this cheap fuel?
Well, and to clarify and to be very clear, I am, as I said, we're on the downstream side of this, so I have, I have knowledge, but not extensive knowledge of the upstream and midstream. But I do have friends in that industry, and or that sector of it. And when we had a negative barrel of West Texas Intermediate was actually trading negative, that was by definition that was actually the futures market, and so what that actually meant was that the May futures for West Texas Intermediate, which is essentially your benchmark for American crude oil, that futures contract actually went into the negative because with COVID and the lack of transportation that was happening and the demand dropping so low, they literally ran out of places to put the crude oil in tanks. And so and that can almost sound inefficient in a way where, well, how can they do that? Well, imagine you pouring a glass of Coca-Cola and the fizz rising, and you may overpour it and not really even realize it until after it. That's kind of what happened to the American demand for oil over the last few weeks. That there's stuff in production, things already ordered, and so what happened and what you saw that day and that week leading up to that day was just a panic, for lack of a better word, of, oh my goodness, we have nowhere to put this.
Yeah.
And so what happened as a result was, not only will we sell it for nothing, we will actually pay you to take this contract if you will take it, if you have somewhere to store this oil at this time. Make no mistake, it's still very cheap. I think I checked WTI this morning. I think it was trading at about $18.50 a barrel, which is very low. To go back to your friend's quote, I do agree with him. I think there's a happy medium of, it's probably closer to $60 to $80 a barrel currently. That gives the guys upstream that are the exploration and they do have to have a profit in order to do all this, obviously, but that's also a realistic market spot for the end user as well. We're not winning as end users when it's $120 a barrel, obviously, either. So there's a happy medium there.
There's that magic, what is it, temperature of porridge, using the Goldilocks things, the Goldilocks.
The Goldilocks theory, absolutely.
The Goldilocks theory.
And one important thing, Cam, on that is I don't know that most people also realize. I talk to friends all the time that are like, man, I wish oil would go to nothing. If everyone would look at their 401k or some of their investments that they may have, they would probably be surprised how much emphasis is on the Chevrons and Royal Dutch Shells and Exxon Mobils in some of their mutual funds and 401ks. And it really does affect more of us than I think we think, the health of some of these organizations. So
I agree.
Not that they need to, that there needs to be a balance. There definitely does. So.
Well, I think oil is used in so many things, like you said, that many of us are unaware of. I remember learning at one point that the CD that I was listening to in the car had a petroleum substance in it in some way or another.
No doubt.
Let's pick that up. I'm curious what different types of products that are made using a petroleum extract that would surprise most people. You probably have a greater insight, and let's pick that up when we come back from break. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, brought to you by Regions. On the line, Josh Davison, Lubricant Sales Manager, Davison Fuels and Oil. We'll be right back.
I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing. We want beer that goes along no matter where the adventure takes us and that doesn't make us choose between great beer and drinkability. We're drawn to the Delta and united by beer because to us, the best way to celebrate the Delta is to slow down and savor the moments and the beer together. Come visit our tap room in downtown Mobile and ask for us at your favorite bar or restaurant. Visit online at braidedriverbrewing.com.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
Human Resource Departments spend countless hours on insurance billing mistakes, Obamacare rules, and compliance. Employee benefits serve the purpose of recruiting, retaining, and rewarding employees. We can handle all of your benefit needs with cost-effective products, employee enrollments, and handle your HR issues. Benefit admin doesn't have to be complicated. My name is Michael Cowart Jr. of the Cowart Group, and we specialize in helping businesses with their employee benefit packages. Visit CowartAssociates.com.
You're You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. Josh Davison is the lubricant sales manager for Davison Fuels and Oil. And Josh, just prior to the break, we were talking about the products that are made with petroleum or petroleum extracts that most of us are unaware of. What are some of the things that are manufactured out there using oil that would surprise us?
Really, Cam, it would almost be easier to say what's not, what oil is not used in. It is extensive. I wish I had it in front of me. I have a chart that takes a barrel of crude oil, and there's a percentage for every industry that it takes. And, cosmetics, virtually all plastics have some sort of petroleum base in them. A lot of medicines that you take, believe it or not, fertilizer. The list is extensive. It virtually nearly every industry it can touch in some way. It is extensive.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than just the oil and diesel and gasoline that most folks think, and it is truly the lifeblood of the world economy. It really is.
So the oil is manufactured or is pulled out of the ground. It's then sent to a refinery. And as I understand it, there's this extraordinary network of pipes across our nation, buried underground, where this stuff is moving on a constant basis. And not only that, it's timed. So that if I were to get into this pipe at this time, what would come out would be this. But if I were to wait, and I don't know what the time is, a day, and open that same pipe, something else would come out. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that, once again, this
That's
is
midstream.
More of a midstream
Right.
conversation, but I do have a working knowledge at least. And what these guys will do, or what these companies will do, is take, let's say you're pumping, obviously, maybe kerosene that day. And so they will run an extensive amount of kerosene through this. There may be miles and hundreds of miles maybe of this kerosene through the lines. And then they will run what is called a pig through to almost as a stopgap between the kerosene and the and you may be following that with diesel fuel or gasoline or mineral spirits or who knows what. And so they will fill tanks, almost like a train system. Think of it as a rail station, to where obviously you can't run two rail cars or two trains opposite directions on one track. And
right.
So you're taking a rail car, you're taking a product, you're getting it to a terminal, and you're pumping it into a tank, and then you're running something else through that line. So it's really an amazing system. These companies that do it are it's a very efficient way to move product once you put the capital in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's quite a bit of capital.
I bet.
It's extremely efficient compared to trucking or even rail car.
So the pig, I'm assuming, is a physical product, some sort of item that separates the fuels.
It is, and it's a petroleum-based product, but it's almost like a cleaner, if you will, and it'll cleanse that line and have it ready for the next product to come through.
Where is the nearest place where, if I wanted to tap into that line, I know as I'm driving up 43, there's this headed north on the left side of the road. There's these big, I don't know what it is, but it looks like it must be 50 different pipes coming out of the ground and curving back into the ground on the way north, headed up towards the chemical plants up there. Is that a entry point for these things? Is that what I'm seeing?
I would have to go to that individual spot and see. That is most of Mobile, to my understanding, is actually natural gas pipelines mostly. There are very few actual diesel fuel and gasoline pipelines in our area. Our terminals, which I think we'll get to here in a second, are not. They are not on the pipeline. So, but that said, you could just about, if you'll take an aerial view of Mobile County, you can see these. I mean, it's every couple of miles probably. There's a pipeline running through somewhere. They even cross in a lot of places.
Yeah.
We live out west of Mobile on a little farm, and there's actually two pipelines running through our farm, and they meet in one spot and work their way through each other. So they're pretty pretty extensive, and they're not. Most everyone probably has one fairly close to where they live or work.
So the fuel that I'm getting out of my local service station, is it coming to me through this network of pipelines? Is it coming to Mobile through this network of pipelines, or is the nearest terminal? How many? I guess I'm trying to ask, how many terminals are there in the nation? There's 5. There's 705. How many are there?
Oh no, there's much more than 5. There is probably, I'd say maybe 8 terminals between New Orleans and Pensacola that we would be able to pull out of.
Yeah.
Mobile in particular is not most of the terminals, if not all of them, are not on the pipeline. So they are called what we call waterborne terminals. And so they will get their products from barges that are shipped in from usually New Orleans or Houston. And so that is it's a different network. It's a little different than the pipeline. It works very similar once the fuel gets there, but it is on a waterborne system.
So the fuel that you're picking up and delivering around our area of Gulf Coast has likely been pushed in on a barge.
The chances are very, very high.
Yeah, okay. Now, does that impact the price of fuel that I'm paying? Am I going to pay a little bit more per gallon because we're distanced from the pipeline and we have to add another leg to the shipment?
If all things were equal and freight was not involved, it would be a negligible amount, but it would be slightly higher. But what you do run into is going to a terminal that may be a touch cheaper on the pipeline is also further away, and trucking being what it is, it almost always takes away the advantage to go to a terminal that is further away on the pipeline. These guys that run these terminals, some of them may be listening. They are very smart guys,
yeah.
And they understand what their market is for their products and the logistics that go into getting it, and they understand where they need to be priced in order to have people show up to pick their products up, and I do not blame them one bit. That's the business that they're in, and so it is priced where it needs to be to make sense to come get it out of the waterborne terminals. Josh
Davidson is the lubricant sales manager for Davison Fuels and Oil. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Josh, before we go to break, I want to talk to you about does it take a special license to go get that fuel, or could I, let's say I had an 18-wheeler tank, and I say, you know what, I'm gonna buy some of this fuel, and I'm going to use it for my car and whatever. Can I go get that, or is it limited only to people with a certain license?
It is extremely limited. It is first off the insurance, the restrictions, and the red tape that you would jump through is quite a bit. Then you would have to get set up with credit accounts, things of that nature with the terminals who vet folks very, very deeply. And so that is a limiting factor. If you were to get an 18-wheeler, there would still be quite a bit of it's not like pulling up to your local gas station and filling up. No, sir. And then the drivers have to be carded to get in. And at first you have to have a hazmat commercial driver's license, which is the first hurdle. And then each terminal vets you. And so it is a process. It is I do not envy our operations guys that deal with that every day, to be honest with you. It is a lot of hoops to jump through.
It sounds like a post 9/11. We got to secure these things. They're volatile, and therefore we got to secure them and vet everybody. Is that what it was?
Absolutely. When you think about it, these fuel drivers it's scary to think about, and it is definitely a job that you don't take lightly. But they're driving, 8,500 gallons of gasoline around, and so the Homeland Security is very aware of who they are. They get what's called a TWIC card and actually go a little deeper, and they don't let just anybody pull in there and pull it out and say good luck. It's a very deep process.
When we come back from break, I want to hear about the drivers and what you can tell us about them, because every 18-wheeler seems to have an ad on the back looking for drivers. Yet yours, you're telling me, are kind of a select few that have had some screening to them. And let's pick that up when we come back from break. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. We'll be back.
Life insurance is one of those subjects that make people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I focus on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance, or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, and get to a better state with State Farm.
That's the sound of rush hour. Hello, recess. Mom! Work from home is a lot of work. Even though we're a little further apart right now, we're still in this together. Regions is donating this ad to local food banks to shine a light on them as they feed our neighbors in need. Learn how you can help or get help at regions.com/foodbank. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
This is Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Jim Mitchell and his team at Signorama have provided all types of signage for nearly every event I've been a part of for years. I know his team's creativity, their multitude of products, and how easy they are to work with. His No Mistake Signorama is South Alabama's marketplace leader. Find Signorama on Facebook, call 634-0100, or visit next to Mullinex Ford on Airport Boulevard. Josh Davidson is the lubricant sales manager for Davison Fuels and Oil. On the line with me, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, and What's Working is brought to you by Regions. Now, Josh, prior to the break, we were talking a little bit about it seems like almost a starvation in the marketplace for drivers. Every 18-wheeler I get behind on the interstate says we are hiring, benefits available through us. But you've just told me that the drivers who are moving these 18-wheelers full of fuel have to get a different type of license as well as a vetting by, I guess it's Homeland Security in order to drive these trucks?
Well, that and they have to pass physicals. That is really what is driving the need for all the advertisements that you see. Everyone in the trucking industry is drivers are they're specialized labor. They work so hard and they do such a great job, and we've got plenty of them. And I have tremendous respect for all of them. They do wonderful work. The pool is shrinking and the demand is growing for that driver every day, and so it is a constant battle, not just in our industry specifically, but any trucking is it's a hurdle. It's tough because the restrictions and the qualifications rise seemingly almost daily, and the pool of your guys that are able and ladies that are able to do it shrink, and your demand tends to rise as well. And so that's why you do see the bonuses and the things like that to and you take care of your drivers, and you want to for a lot of reasons, not just because of that, but they are skilled labor. There's no doubt. They're skilled labor, and they have to have a clean background, clean drug tests, no doubt, clean everything. Yep. I would suspect, and so you become a driver, and then you move to another level, a more elite level of driver, I would say, once you can pass these tests and these background checks. Is that right? Are they are exactly. Fuel drivers the top of the line in terms of these long haul carriers that I see out there? They are there. They are there. Bulk chemicals and things of that nature. A lot of the gases and stuff, and fuel drivers. It's not just a CDL. It's your driving record has to be flawless. It is really that they're constantly. Our safety director's office is actually across from mine, and he is on top of everything. Jeff O'Brien is his name. He does a great job for us, and it is truly a daily. Okay, is your physical up to date? Are you carded at this terminal? It is. They do not take that lightly, wow. and they shouldn't.
And they shouldn't, I would guess. But I would suspect these drivers can command a pretty good salary. And
they do well.
They do well. And they could choose to go elsewhere if they wanted to, and could probably find a job at the drop of a hat, meaning you are probably on top of your game when it comes to driver retention, huh?
That is a large part of our business. Yes, sir.
Is taking care of the drivers. The fuel's going to be there. The drivers we don't know. So we take care of the drivers and the customers.
No doubt.
Yeah. So one of the questions I've always had, and I've always wondered how this works, is I read in the paper, let's say, or back when we used to have papers, or I read on the app that fuel is going down. Prices for fuel are going down. It trickles down, though. However, when there is a disruption in the system in the Middle East somewhere, the fuel prices seem to go up instantaneously. As soon as the story hits the news, my local corner gas station has moved the price up due to a potential conflict in the Arabian Peninsula or something like that. And I've always thought, why does it go up so quickly and come down so slowly? Can you give us any insight into that?
I can, and hopefully I can do it concisely. But despite popular belief, it is not some conspiracy by gas station owners. But
that's such an easy answer, though. It's such an easy and convenient answer is to vilify a gas station owner, but that's not it.
Exactly, and they are really just running their business the best they know how. But it's really an average cost, inventory, and a purchasing power. Not a problem, but just what you see. And so let's say we had Cam's Quick Stop across the road from Josh's Grocery. And Cam's Quick Stop uses a truckload a day of gasoline. It's a busy station, which is roughly 8,500 gallons of gasoline. And so you're going through, Cam's Quick Stop is going through a load a day, and Josh's Grocery may have a little different niche, may be more of a grocery store than a gas station. For whatever reason, Josh's Grocery buys a load a week of gasoline. And so Cam's Quick Stop, let's say the market is going up. Cam's Quick Stop is going to purchase gas every day, and let's say it goes up a penny a gallon every day for 7 days. Well, Cam's Quick Stop's cost of goods in his tank, his average cost, is going to rise upwards of, by the end of the day or by the end of the week, 7 cents a gallon is what his cost has went up, while Josh's Grocery has not had any increase in cost, but Cam's Quick Stop is probably going to raise his price very quickly because he is going through quite a bit of fuel. And chances are, if Cam's Quick Stop is the price leader in that market because he's buying a load of fuel per day versus Josh's Grocery, Josh's Grocery will very quickly follow Cam's Quick Stop in raising their price and make a little extra margin on his one truckload that he's had for a week. If Josh's Grocery did not, he would probably sell out of gas pretty quickly and then have to go up as well.
Right.
And so the market pushes itself up fairly quickly. Now, the flip side to that, let's say Cam's Cam's Quick Stop. I'm getting my stations confused.
Yeah.
Cam's Quick Stop buys a load of fuel a day, and the market's going down a nickel a day. Well, Cam's Quick Stop is going to Josh's Grocery is still sitting on the same cost of fuel, and Cam's Quick Stop is still sitting. He's the market leader.
Right.
He's buying more fuel in the market, and because of that purchasing power, he is probably not going to be very quick to go down on his street price because he doesn't really have to.
Right.
And so that free market is at work there. Now, slowly, let's say a week or two happens or goes by, Josh's Grocery will get a load, and it'll be fairly competitive, and it'll trickle down. And so we'll see a price drop in a week versus probably a day or two with those different scenarios. And then when you really see these runs like we have lately where fuel just dropped off of the table,
right,
you've got some stations that might buy a load every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so some of the big users are a little slower to go down, and I don't blame them one bit because they have earned that right with the purchasing power that they've been able to produce in the market.
Due to these big producers' ability to choose the correct location, to invest in their infrastructure, to make at least this is when I'm traveling on the interstate, does it look clean? Is it well lit? All those things. Due to that, they are the volume leader in the area and get the benefit from buying more frequently. Is that correct?
Exactly. That is really the game in that industry, and we have been in that industry. We are not great at it. I'll be honest with you. We got out of it a few years ago, but there's some amazing guys, quite a few of them in our area that do a wonderful job in retail, and that is the name of the game. They want to have a good location. They want to have a clean store, clean restrooms, clean, good selection of inside sales. That all that is largely as important, if not more important, a lot of times than the price on the a few pennies a gallon on the sign.
It's certainly the case, particularly when I'm traveling with my family. They will pick the gas station, and it even depends on and this is crazy but true, the quality of the logo as we're getting off the exit. If it's got mold on it, if it's got dirt on it, it still could they'll choose let's go to that place, Dad. They can't even see the service station, but let's go to that place. It looks better just based on the quality of the logo on the sign of the exit.
Exactly. Image is very big in any business, but especially in the convenience store business there. So
let's take your expertise. Let's kind of apply this to your knowledge. You know so much. You roll into, and I'm choosing this because this is available to every one of the listeners, is the service station is filling their tank up. What do you see when you roll into a gas station through your educated eyes?
Oh, Cam, I look at it like a math problem, honestly. I'm looking at, obviously the street price. I'm looking at the inside sales, how a store is set up, how many cashiers are they running, what system are they on, and is it a Nucleus or a Ruby inside? What kind of pumps are they using? But long story short, looking at how it's run, just in general, the cleanliness of the parking lot, and each store has a signature. Like I said, there's some really good marketers in our area, and you can almost tell if you took the name off the sign, me and some of my counterparts and some of our competitors could probably tell you who set that store up, if that makes any sense, just by how it's set up, good or bad. And so I probably tend to look at, I tell my wife all the time, we'll be, traveling or something, and I'll say, man, this store is really set up well. Uh-huh. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, just how this flows and everything. But it's just what you do, just like anybody doing anything. But
you said a term a moment ago, a Nucleus or a Ruby. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's just the point of sale systems. The cash registers, essentially.
I see. Yeah. That's a brand of point of sale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the pumps now have video screens on them. They're talking to me. They're trying to get me inside. They want me to buy more, sunflower seeds to stay awake, or cookies and stuff like that, drinks and Cokes and things of that nature. It's become a big part of the business, and gas is just the lure, is the way it seems to me.
You're correct. Without getting too detailed and into their world, that is, it would surprise the average person. Some of the marketers at times are not making much money on the gasoline. It is almost a loss leader in order to get dry volume inside, and that is the game. Most guys are, if they're breaking even, it's a good day some days on gasoline, especially when the market's going up.
Yeah, I can see that now that you've explained that, the way that works. So tell me what you see going forward with the COVID economy and us. As we talk here right now, we're beginning to come out of the restrictions to movement around town. What is your predicting going forward? There's a big futures market in the petroleum world. Give me the futures market in Davison Fuels world around Mobile, Alabama.
Well, this will be interesting to listen to in a couple of years, but I think the whole business world is in a kind of a state of figuring out the new normal. And I think we, as a company and as an industry, are going to be in a very similar spot, but it's just there's just so much unknown on how. I unfortunately read a report, I think it was yesterday, 30 million Americans are unemployed right now.
Yeah.
And that has so much trickle effect on just, I don't know if the average person realizes how much effect that has on their life and touches every aspect of everything that we all do. And the economy is an amazing thing to really look at, and how money moves. And so I think short term, these prices falling and things like that, other than some inventory hoops to jump through and, moving inventory that may be higher versus lower, short term's not going to change much. I think what will be very interesting is, the 1 to 3 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
What does this look like for, oil industry in general? You'll probably see a lot of consolidation as this hit. Companies that were positioned, they're maybe not capitalized quite as well, will probably need to be absorbed. And so you'll probably see, even on the major level, the national level, you will probably see some consolidation that may not have happened because of this in the coming years.
Interesting.
So I do look for that to happen.
Well, we'll see. It's something we'll all see. If that happens, that'll make the headlines, and we'll all say we heard it from you first.
You heard it here first.
Josh Davison is the lubricant sales manager for Davison Fuels and Oil, corporate headquarters here in Mobile, Alabama. Family's been in the business since about 1950. Josh, thank you so much for your time today.
Cam, I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Regions. I'll be back in a minute with final comments.
Do you sometimes wonder about different money topics, but struggle to find the answers? The Every Dollar Counts podcast with Gulf Coast experts Josh Knoll and Jay Stubbs is made for those folks serious about their financial plan and looking for answers. Josh and Jay dedicate their time to explaining the various services and products available, as well as discussing lifestyle and money interests of the modern-day family. Tune in to Every Dollar Counts on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you get your favorite podcasts.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
Thanks to Josh Davison for his time. Very interesting. We're going to finish up this week with a commentary from David Webb that was recorded pre-coronavirus, however, is still very relevant right now.
Are you a community volunteer? I am, and you should be too. I want to share some things with you about all this. Volunteering your time and talents in your community is the glue that holds society together. Without volunteerism, some organizations would cease to exist, and all the good they do would just evaporate into the ether. Charities would not be able to proliferate their goodwill to others. Clubs and associations would grind to a screeching halt. Homes and shelters would not be repaired or built. The poor would not find that special warm meal when they need it. Churches would be void of personality. Fewer people would smile in hospitals and clinics. Kids' sports teams would fall apart. You get it. Community volunteerism is critically important in today's world. Let's look at some real people in our community that have made a difference volunteering their time and talents here in Mobile. There's Philip, who's been in the Boy Scouts for the past 10 years as a Scoutmaster. And how about Jay and Dennison, Scott, Josh, Michael, Buddy, and all the other dads that volunteered their time to coach baseball teams for a decade or more at Municipal Park? What about Phoebe and Susan that have volunteered their music skills at Ashland Place over the last 20 years? There's Kim, who volunteers at soup kitchens downtown to feed the poor on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Susie and Laura visit and hold unhealthy babies at the hospital, rocking them to a loving sleep. Clay, Travis, Stephanie, and Gloria have helped mobile swim associations for umpteen years. There's Jill that presides over ballet, and June that teaches kids about art at the museum. There's Blakely and Jack that volunteered countless hours at Mirabee, Austin, and Phillips so the kids could have successful spring flings. And there's that time Charleston and Arthur and Cooper went to Panama City to help out after Hurricane Michael that destroyed homes and displaced families. And let's not forget to thank the Brutons for fostering 25 dogs over the last 5 years. All these kind folks are teachers, accountants, students, artists, managers, business owners, judges, sales reps, writers, doctors, lawyers, insurance agents, engineers, and homemakers. If they can find the time to volunteer, we all can too. Caring volunteers make a difference every day in our schools, churches, hospitals, parks, kitchens, museums, sports facilities, senior citizen centers, countless associations and boards, and other community needs along the Gulf Coast. If you're not volunteering your time and talent somewhere, pause for a moment and ask yourself, why not? Work on making time for it. It's fulfilling, worthwhile, and necessary. Please, if you're not giving some time to your community on a regular basis, consider doing so in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Sometimes it's up to us to make a difference in the other people's lives that we hold most dear in society, like our kids and the poor and seniors, or our pets, or charities, and our culture. Let's all make a difference. Volunteer somewhere worthwhile soon.
Folks, What's Working, as you know, presented by Regions. We're always looking for ideas and organizations to meet and to interview. If you know somebody out there that's doing something really interesting, that's got some really good ideas that are on the forefront of what it is that they do, we want to know about them. And it's not just product or services to clients or customers. If you've got ideas on people that are doing things internally that are really thoughtful, we'd like to know about them too. As well as consultants that you know that really are bringing some mindful, there's another word, popular word these days, practices to the workplace. Here's how to get in touch with us. First, there's our phone/text line, which is 251-260-8100. Leave us a text, leave us a message. You can find us on Instagram, What's Working with Cam Marston. No spaces there. You can find us on Facebook. Go to the Facebook search bar, What's Working with Cam Marston, and Twitter, What's Working Cam. You'll find us there too. Now, we do offer this text service from time to time. Write this down. Text What's Working, no apostrophes, no spaces, to 44222. Again, What's Working to 44222, and you'll get whatever offer we have. Usually it's show notes or some sort of special coupon or something like that. Write it down. You can't send every time. We update this stuff, so send another text every now and then. And finally, find the podcasts at cammarston.com. Across the top of the page, you'll see our podcast link. Click on it, and you'll get there. Show is produced by John Thompson with Ion Digital. Special thanks to Kristen Ogden for arranging all the interviews. Have a good week, everybody.